Hello, my dear friends. May the peace of the Lord always be with you. Today is Tuesday, August 26th, 2025, the 21st week in Ordinary Time. Now, let us listen to the Word of God. First reading. A reading from the first letter of St. Paul the Apostle to the Thessalonians. You yourselves know, brothers and sisters, that our reception among you was not without effect. Rather, after we had suffered and been insolently treated, as you know, in Philippi, we drew courage through our God to speak to you the gospel of God with much struggle. Our exhortation was not from delusion or impure motives, nor did it work through deception, but as we were judged worthy by God to be entrusted with the gospel. That is how we speak, not as trying to please men, but rather God, who judges our hearts. Nor, indeed, did we ever appear with flattering speech, as you know, or with a pretext for greed. God is witness. Nor did we seek praise from men, either from you or from others, although we were able to impose our weight as apostles of Christ. Rather, we were gentle among you, as a nursing mother cares for her children. With such affection for you, we were determined to share with you not only the gospel of God, but our very selves as well. So dearly beloved had you become to us. Now, let us listen to the responsorial psalm together. You have searched me and you know me. Lord, O Lord, you have probed me and you know me. You know when I sit and when I stand. You understand my thoughts from afar. My journeys and my rest you scrutinize. With all my ways you are familiar. You have searched me and you know me. Lord, even before a word is on my tongue. Behold, O Lord, you know the whole of it. Behind me and before, you hem me in, and rest your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain. You have searched me and you know me, Lord. Alleluia, alleluia. The Word of God is living and effective, able to discern reflections and thoughts of the heart. Alleluia, alleluia. Let us listen to the word of the Lord. The Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus said, Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You paid tithes of mint and dill and cumin, and have neglected the weightier things of the law, judgment and mercy and fidelity. But these you should have done, without neglecting the others. Blind guides, who strain out the gnat and swallow the camel. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You cleanse the outside of cup and dish, but inside they are full of plunder and self-indulgence. Blind Pharisee, cleanse first the inside of the cup, so that the outside also may be clean. Let us reflect together on the Word of God. In this passage from Matthew's Gospel, Jesus addresses the scribes and Pharisees with words that cut to the heart of hypocrisy. He is not speaking against the law itself, nor against the practice of tithing herbs such as mint, dill, and cumin, but against the distortion of priorities. The Pharisees were meticulous about small, visible practices of religion, while neglecting the greater demands of God's law, justice, mercy, and faithfulness. This contrast exposes a deep truth about human religiosity. It is always easier to measure and display the external rituals than to live out the hidden virtues of compassion, fairness, and fidelity. To tie the 10th of verbs is simple, quantifiable, and even admirable on the surface. But to live daily with justice in relationships, mercy toward the weak, and fidelity to God requires a transformation of the heart, an integrity that cannot be faked. Jesus unmasks the tendency to focus on what is outward and negligible while bypassing what is essential. His words are a mirror, showing us how often we too may emphasize minor practices of faith while ignoring the weightier matters that God truly desires. The image of straining out the net and swallowing the camel is both vivid and ironic. According to Jewish dietary laws, both gnats and camels were considered unclean. The Pharisees were so careful to avoid ingesting even a tiny gnat, filtering their drinks meticulously, yet they ended up swallowing a camel, one of the largest unclean animals. The exaggeration highlights the absurdity of misplaced priorities. The human heart can become so obsessed with details of external performance that it fails to notice the massive contradictions within. This is not merely a critique of first-century Pharisees, it is a warning for all generations. We can be scrupulous about minor rules or external forms of religion, yet carry within this pride, injustice, or lack of mercy. The image challenges us to examine whether our spiritual practices are truly aligned with the heart of God or whether they have become a cover for deeper failings. When Jesus declares, "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites," the word hypocrite must be understood in its original sense. In Greek, a hypocrite was an actor who wore a mask on stage. Jesus is exposing the danger of religious life becoming a performance, a mask of holiness covering a heart that is not transformed. Cleansing the outside of the cup and dish while the inside is filled with greed and self-indulgence is a powerful metaphor. Outwardly, the Pharisees appeared righteous, but inwardly their hearts were corrupted. Jesus insists on cleansing the inside first, because only an authentic interior renewal can lead to true holiness. If the heart is purified, the external life will naturally reflect that purity. This principle is central to Christian discipleship. God looks at the heart, and only when the heart is aligned with Him will outward actions have real meaning. This gospel calls us to a difficult but necessary self-examination. Where in our lives do we strain nets and swallow camels? Where are we overly concerned with appearances, rules, or rituals, while neglecting justice, mercy, and faith? It is easier to appear religious than to be truly just. It is easier to fulfill a visible obligation than to forgive an enemy. It is easier to polish the outside of the cup than to surrender one's heart to God. Yet Jesus reminds us that true faith cannot be superficial. It demands an interior conversion that transforms how we treat others, how we exercise justice, how we show mercy, and how we remain faithful to God's covenant. This passage reveals the essence of Christian authenticity. Holiness begins within, not as performance but as surrender to God's truth. The way Jesus confronts the Pharisees is both sharp and full of sorrow. He does not condemn their effort to tie the herbs, because in itself it is not wrong, but He reveals the disproportion between what they carefully guard and what they neglect. To be scrupulous with mint, dill, and cumin but to ignore justice, mercy, and fidelity is to distort the law's purpose. The law was never meant to be reduced to external acts, but to guide the heart toward God and neighbor. Justice is the foundation of all human relationships, ensuring fairness and honesty. Mercy reflects God's own compassion toward the weak and the sinner. Fidelity expresses loyalty to God's covenant and truth. These are not optional extras, but the very essence of the law. Jesus' words remind us that religious practices detached from justice, mercy, and fidelity become empty gestures, more about self-display than genuine love. The irony in Jesus' language presses us to look within ourselves. How often do we, like the Pharisees, prefer the measurable and external duties because they cost us less interiorly? A person may carefully attend Sunday Mass, donate money to charity, or observe fast rules, yet still harbor resentment, speak unjustly about others, or close their heart to the suffering of a neighbor. These actions are not meaningless, but without the inner virtues of justice, mercy, and fidelity, they ring hollow. Jesus calls us not to abandon the smaller practices, but to put them in right order, to see them as expressions of deeper virtues rather than substitutes for them. When he says, "These you should have done," without neglecting the others, he is restoring balance. The small things matter, but they must flow from a heart grounded in what is weighty in God's eyes. The metaphor of straining out the gnat while swallowing the camel captures the absurdity of religious hypocrisy. It exposes how blind guides can mislead both themselves and others. A net, nearly invisible, becomes an obsession, while a camel, enormous and impossible to ignore, is swallowed whole without recognition. This image points to the blindness that comes from pride and misplaced focus. The Pharisees believed they were experts in guiding the people, but by fixating on minutiae, they had lost sight of God's true priorities. Jesus calls them blind guides, highlighting that without inner conversion, leaders can mislead those who follow them. This blindness is not mere ignorance, it is willful refusal to see what God asks. When religious leaders substitute external display for genuine integrity, they not only harm themselves but also burden others with false examples of holiness. The second image Jesus uses is just as striking. You cleanse the outside of cup and dish, but inside they are full of plunder and self-indulgence. Here he confronts the reality that appearances can be deceiving. A cup may shine on the outside, polished to perfection, but if the inside is contaminated, it remains unfit for use. In the same way, a person may appear holy, with pious words and visible devotion, yet within may harbor greed, arrogance, or selfish desires. Jesus is not satisfied with a surface-level faith. He demands integrity of the whole person. Beginning from within, the root of holiness lies in the heart, and when the heart is corrupted, no amount of external polish can make it truly clean. That is why he commands, "Cleanse first the inside of the cup, so that the outside also may be clean." True transformation begins within and then naturally radiates outward. This teaching is particularly challenging in every age because the temptation to live a double life is constant. Society often rewards appearance, recognition, and visible achievements. In religious life, too, one can be tempted to present an image of faithfulness, generosity, or virtue while concealing a divided heart. But Jesus will not allow his disciples to live behind masks. He unmasks hypocrisy not to shame but to invite to true conversion. The interior life, our thoughts, intentions, desires, and hidden attitudes, is the place where God desires truth. To cleanse the inside is to let God purify our motives, strip away our greed, and reorder our desires according to His will. Only then do our external acts of devotion carry authenticity and weight. This gospel passage urges us to examine our own lives with honesty. Do we sometimes reduce faith to external practices that make us appear righteous while our hearts remain untouched? Do we avoid the harder call of justice because it demands sacrifice? Or mercy because it requires humility? Or fidelity because it costs perseverance? Jesus' words remind us that God's law is not a checklist of minor rules but a living call to love. Justice, mercy, and fidelity are not mere virtues among others. They are the weighty matters that sustain the covenant relationship with God and neighbor. If these are missing, no amount of external compliance can please God. The Pharisees serve as a warning, but also as a mirror, showing us how easily religion can be twisted into self-serving display if the heart is not cleansed. When we look more closely at Jesus' insistence on cleansing the inside first, we begin to see how radical His teaching is for every disciple. The Pharisees were content with external compliance because it allowed them to maintain social respect and religious prestige. But Jesus asks for something that no human eye can measure and no public recognition can reward: the purity of the heart. A heart that is purified by God is one that seeks justice not because it gains approval, but because it reflects the very character of God who is just. A heart that has been touched by divine mercy extends mercy to others even when it is costly. Because it remembers how much mercy it has received, a heart that is faithful does not waver when no one else is watching. Because its loyalty is anchored in God's truth. This is why Jesus puts such weight on the inner life, because from it flows everything else. If the well is poisoned, the water drawn from it cannot be clean, but if the well itself is pure, then the streams that flow outward will give life. This teaching is not only directed at first-century religious leaders, it speaks directly to the modern believer. In every culture and every era, there is a temptation to reduce religion to appearances, to create a facade of devotion while neglecting the unseen depths where God desires to dwell. One may be diligent about public worship yet remain indifferent to injustice in the workplace or the community. One may fast or give alms, yet refuse to forgive a family member. One may recite prayers with lips while harboring bitterness in the heart. These contradictions show that cleansing the outside while ignoring the inside is still a danger for us today. Jesus' words cut through every mask, calling us back to authenticity, to an integrity where what is inside matches what is outside. Only then do we truly honor God with our lives. The weightier matters of the law, justice, mercy, and fidelity form a kind of compass for Christian living. Justice ensures that we treat others with fairness, respecting their dignity as children of God. Mercy softens justice with compassion, reminding us that God Himself did not treat us according to what we deserve but according to His boundless love. Fidelity grounds us in covenant faithfulness, keeping us steady when trials tempt us to compromise or betray God's truth. These three together safeguard us from hypocrisy. Without justice, We may exploit others while pretending to be devout. Without mercy, we may become rigid, proud of our exactness in small rules but blind to suffering. Without fidelity, we may drift into self-indulgence, following our own desires while maintaining an external shell of religion. Jesus calls his disciples to embrace all three as the true weight of the law, the heart of what it means to walk with God. In this light, the strong words, "Woe to you," are not merely curses but lamentations. Jesus laments the blindness of the Pharisees because their obsession with appearances prevents them from entering into the very life God desires for them. The tragedy of hypocrisy is not only that it misleads others, but that it robs the hypocrite of true communion with God. To strain out gnats while swallowing camels, to polish cups while ignoring their interior filth, is to miss the point of the law and to miss the heart of God. Jesus' rebuke is severe because the stakes are eternal. God does not desire masks of holiness but hearts transformed by His grace. This gospel, therefore, is not only a confrontation but an invitation. It challenges us to stop pretending and to let God cleanse us from within. It asks us to reorder our priorities so that justice, mercy, and fidelity become the foundation of our lives. It teaches us that when the inside is cleansed, the outside naturally becomes radiant with authenticity. Holiness is not about performance, it is about becoming true before God. Let us lift up our prayer before God. My friend, today's gospel is not just a story about the Pharisees long ago. It is a word that Jesus speaks into your life right now. He sees how often you try to do the small things right. The things people notice, showing up, saying the right words, keeping up the routines, and yet He knows how much harder it is to live out the deeper call, justice, mercy, and faithfulness. So as you begin this prayer, you can open your heart to Him and say, "Lord, I thank you for reminding me of what truly matters. I don't want to lose myself in appearances. I want my heart to beat in rhythm with yours." Think of how easy it is, my friend, to worry about the outside of the cup. You can spend so much energy making sure others see you as good, as generous, as faithful. But Jesus already sees what is inside, and He is not fooled by the polish. That should not frighten you, it should free you. Because when He sees the inside, He sees not only your faults but also your longing to be whole. And so you can tell Him honestly, "Lord, I bring you my hidden thoughts, my restless desires, my pride, my failures. Cleanse me inside, where no one else sees. Wash me in your mercy so that the life I live outside is simply the overflow of a heart made new." And then there is the image of straining nuts and swallowing camels. My friend, how often have you fixated on tiny irritations, on small obligations, while letting larger things slide? How often have you judged yourself or others on trivial details, while ignoring the bigger call to love, to forgive, to live faithfully? You can admit this before Jesus, because He already knows. You can whisper, "Lord, open my eyes, show me where I have been blind. Don't let me waste energy on the little things while neglecting the greater weight of justice, mercy, and faithfulness." Now let this moment be a turning point. You don't have to wear a mask with Jesus. You don't have to play a role, pretending you are better than you are. He wants you as you are, so that He can cleanse the inside first. And when the inside is renewed, the outside will shine with authenticity. So you can pray with all your heart, Lord, create in me a clean heart. Let my justice be real, not for show. Let my mercy be wide, not limited by my comfort. Let my faithfulness be steady, not shaken by temptation. I give you permission to transform me, from the inside out. My friend, if you listen carefully, you will hear Jesus' words today not as an accusation but as an invitation. He is not saying, "Woe to you," in order to crush you. He is saying it so that you can finally let go of what is false and embrace what is true. You know what it is like to wear a mask, to make the outside of your life look clean and polished, while inside you were exhausted, burdened, and sometimes even ashamed. And in that place, you can turn to the Lord honestly. You can say, "Lord, I don't want to live a double life. I don't want to act holy while my heart is far from you. Cleanse me deep within, because only you can give me the purity that I long for." Think about justice for a moment. My friend, justice is not an abstract word. It is about how you treat the people around you every day. Are you fair when you speak? Do you honor the dignity of others when you make choices? Or have there been times when you have used words to wound? Or taken advantage because it was easier? Or judged harshly because it made you feel better? This is where you can pause and tell God the truth. Lord, I want to live with justice, but I often fail. Forgive me for the times I have chosen selfishness over fairness. For when I have been silent in the face of wrong, teach me to live as you live, just, true, and compassionate in all my dealings. And then, mercy, my friend. Mercy is what keeps justice from becoming cold and hard. Mercy is what bends low to lift up the fallen, what forgives even when it hurts, what chooses compassion instead of vengeance. How often have you struggled to show mercy? How many times have you clung to anger or held back forgiveness because it felt safer to protect yourself? But here, in prayer, you can let those walls fall. You can pray, "Lord, soften my heart. Help me forgive as you forgive me. Help me to release bitterness, to extend kindness even when it is undeserved, to see others through your merciful eyes." Faithfulness is the third thread Jesus names. My friend, you know how difficult it is to stay steady when life shakes you. You may begin with promises to God, with resolutions to do better, to stay closer, but then distractions, temptations, and weariness pull you away. And yet Jesus calls you back, not with anger but with love. You can respond with honesty. "Lord, my loyalty wavers, my heart drifts, but I want to remain yours. Anchor me in your truth. Make me faithful in small choices so that when bigger trials come, I will not falter. Teach me to stay close even when no one sees, because my faithfulness is not a performance but a gift of love to you." My friend, Jesus' image of straining out gnats and swallowing camels is not only about the Pharisees, it is about you too. How often you have been meticulous in some tiny religious practice while ignoring larger sins of the heart. How often you have condemned others for their little faults while excusing your own bigger failings. This is where you can let the Lord open your eyes. Pray with humility. "Lord, let me see my life as you see it. Do not let me be blind to my contradictions. Show me the places where I have swallowed camels of pride, selfishness, and hypocrisy while pretending to be pure. Give me courage to face them and to let you change me from the inside out. And do not forget the image of the cup. My friend, what use is a polished cup if the inside is dirty? It may look beautiful on the shelf, but it cannot serve its purpose. In the same way, your life may appear impressive to others, but if inside it is filled with greed, self-indulgence, or bitterness, then it is not what God desires. Jesus calls you not to despair but to begin again. Cleanse the inside first. That is where true holiness begins. So speak to Him now. Lord, here is my heart. Here are the thoughts I try to hide, the desires I cannot control, the struggles I pretend are not there. Cleanse me with your Spirit. Make me new on the inside, so that my outside will simply shine with the authenticity of a life touched by you. This is the heart of today's prayer. My friend, you don't need to pretend before God. You don't need to perform. You only need to be willing to be cleansed, to be renewed, to be transformed by His grace. And so, as you sit in this moment, let your prayer be simple and true. Lord, I belong to you. Take away hypocrisy. Fill me with justice, mercy, and faithfulness. Cleanse me from within, and let my life be a clear reflection of your love. Jesus' words today remind you that the heart matters more than the surface. He is not asking you to abandon the small practices, but He is asking you to place first things first. Justice, mercy, and fidelity are not details. They are the foundation. You can let that truth sink into you and say, Lord, I have sometimes been satisfied with gestures while neglecting the essence. Teach me to live fairly, to treat people with dignity, to carry mercy in my actions, and to hold on to faithfulness even when it costs. You know how easy it is to polish what others can see while leaving hidden places untouched. But God is not deceived by what shines outside. He looks deeper, and He loves you enough to confront what others cannot see. In prayer, you can surrender that hidden part. Lord, I invite you into my inner world, the thoughts I bury, the desires I am ashamed of, the pride I cannot admit. Wash me there, and when you make me clean inside, let the outside of my life naturally reflect your grace. Think too of the image of straining nuts and swallowing camels. It is absurd, but it is real, focusing on the tiniest rules while ignoring heavy sins. You know how often you have been harsh about small faults in others while excusing your own bigger failures. And so you can whisper, Lord, I don't want to live blind. Show me the places where I have been inconsistent. Give me clarity, honesty, and courage to face what I would rather ignore. Holiness is not about performance. It is about integrity. If the heart is aligned with God, the life outside will be authentic. This is what Jesus is teaching you. Begin within, and so you can rest here and make it your prayer. Lord, create in me a heart that is true. Let every action I take, every word I speak, every choice I make flow from a place that has been touched by you. Justice is more than an idea you admire. It is the way you live each day when choices are placed in front of you. It is the decision to treat people fairly even when no one is watching. To refuse to take advantage when you have the power to do so. To stand for truth when silence would be easier. In prayer, you can face the moments where you fell short, when you ignored the needs of others, when you judged with partiality, when you chose comfort over courage. Lay it all before God and ask, Lord, give me the strength to live with integrity, to speak truth gently but firmly, to protect the dignity of those who cannot defend themselves. Shape my heart so that justice is not an act one perform occasionally but the steady rhythm of my life. Mercy, too, is not optional. It is the place where you let God's own compassion flow through you. Mercy means choosing to forgive when the wound still hurts, to show patience when you are tired, to extend kindness even to those who may not deserve it. That kind of mercy does not come naturally. It is born from remembering how much you have already been forgiven. So let your prayer rise. Lord, soften what has grown hard in me. Heal the grudges I have carried. Free me from bitterness. Make me quick to forgive. And let me mirror your gentleness in my relationships. Fidelity is about constancy. It is easy to begin with enthusiasm and then lose focus, to make promises and later forget them. But faithfulness is what holds you steady when the excitement fades. What keeps you rooted when the winds shift? You know your loyalty has wavered at times, and you can confess that honestly. Lord, I want to remain true to you even in hidden places. Anchor me in your word. Sustain me when I feel weak. Remind me of your covenant love that never fails. Let my life be marked by perseverance, not just good intentions. The Pharisees polished their outer image, but Jesus spoke about cleansing the inside. That is where transformation begins. If the inner motives are impure, the outer life will always be hollow. But when the heart is renewed, every action gains authenticity. Bring that desire to God in prayer. Lord, shine your light in the corners I hide. Wash me clean from pride and selfish ambition. Plant in me a heart that is whole, so that the love I show outside is simply the overflow of what you have already healed within. There are times when you realize that the greatest danger is not failure in itself, but pretending to be something you are not. Hypocrisy is heavy because it wears you down. You have to keep polishing the outside while knowing the inside is unsettled. That is why Jesus' words are not meant to shame you, but to free you. He invites you to stop performing and to start living in truth. And so you can say, Lord, I am tired of the masks. I don't want to hide behind rituals or appearances. I want to meet you as I really am. Purify me so that I can walk with honesty before you, no longer divided but whole. This surrender does not make you weaker, it opens the way for grace. When the inside of the cup is cleansed, you no longer have to worry about appearances. What flows outward is simply the reality of God at work within. That is the kind of authenticity the world longs to see. Not perfection but integrity. Not a flawless surface but a life transformed by love. And you can pray, Lord, let my life be transparent before you. Let my actions be a reflection of a heart renewed by your mercy. Teach me to value what is weighty, justice, mercy, and faithfulness, so that everything else in my life finds its proper place. Then let this prayer come to a close with gratitude and trust. You have seen how easily the heart can be distracted by appearances. How quickly you can choose what is light and neglect what is weighty. But you have also seen that God does not abandon you in your weakness. He speaks truth, not to condemn you, but to guide you back to what matters most. And so you can end by saying, Lord, I thank you for reminding me that justice, mercy, and faithfulness are the treasures you desire. Thank you for exposing what is false in me. not to crush me but to set me free. Now you can entrust everything into His hands. Whatever has been hidden inside, whatever has felt too heavy for you to cleanse on your own, you can surrender it to Him. Pray with confidence. Lord, I place my heart in your care. Wash me, renew me, and lead me into this day with integrity. Let me live without masks, without pretense, without fear. Fill me with the courage to choose fairness when it is hard, compassion when it costs me, and loyalty when I feel weak. As you rise from this moment of prayer, carry one truth with you. The Lord delights in a heart that is honest and surrendered. He does not ask you to be perfect in the eyes of others. He asks you to be faithful in His sight. Let that assurance guide you through every choice ahead, and whisper one last offering. Lord, I am yours. Shape me from within so that my life outside shines only with your light. Amen. Cut video. And now, may the peace of Christ remain with you as you step into the rest of your day. If this time of prayer has spoken to your heart, I invite you to stay connected by subscribing to this channel, so that together we can keep walking in God's Word and growing in His grace. Thank you for sharing these moments with me. Until we meet again in the next prayer, may the Lord bless you, keep you, and cleanse your heart with His mercy and love.